See America merely as a vessel. I mean, only a class of people so rootless in their disposition to view America in such a way as merely a vessel for abstractions, right? We're going to smash your brain into the Bible, idiot. And I'm addicted to the serotonin rush.
When's enough, babe? When's enough, babe? Shit.
Just eat a Big Mac, you stupid bitch.
Change of view can move a country in the peace and so money has to stop the line. Another last line. Feel like change of view can move a country in the peace don't cross the money has to stop the line. Another last line. Feel like
we're not allowed to make jokes anymore. We're not allowed to make jokes. It's not funny. Sipping wine, having some pasta, having some pizza. No. I'm weird. I'm normal. I'm not normal, but I'm eccentric. I'm quirky. I'm original. All right, I'm original.
One person raised his voice. The teacher couldn't believe it. The classroom couldn't believe it either. But in the end, he had logic on his side. And at the end of the day, he proved his point.
Feel like the Nero on Casino. Where they got the sun for the Tino. Don't sun it when you growing on the ice. What you say? Me and the girl, she be blowing on the face. Put the game, dirty game for the. Feel like the Nero.
Saratoga Russians.
Feel like the Nero on Casino. Where they got the sun for the Feel like the Nero on Casino. Where they got the sun for the
We're willingly going into a racial caste system where we're at the bottom. And all we have to say about it is, well, that's a little bit hypocritical. Really, it's a little bit more than hypocritical. Telling white people you won't appoint them in government, and telling white people you can't get a seat in a university, and telling white people you can't get a job, and telling white people you ought to sit down and shut up and let someone else talk for a change. White people will not be appointed. White people will not be mentored. You can't get into school. You can't get this job. You won't get this government stimulus. You won't get the small business loan from the COVID stimulus pool. Tearing down their statues, changing their holidays, insulting their heroes, wiping the names of generals and presidents off of schools and military bases. People come over here and they litter and they graffiti and they carjack and they tear down the statues. They take over and they appropriate reparations for themselves. They trash the place. They disrespect the people that built it. And now they want to get rid of us. It's a genocide is what it is. They want to get rid of us. They want to destroy this nation, this people. They are wiping out this people. They are wiping out our culture, our nation. They're taking over our leadership to facilitate that. This is a genocide. You are being genocided right now. And what are you going to do about it? I'm white, and I'm pissed off, and I'm sick of being discriminated against as a white American. My ancestors built this country. It wouldn't be right, period, but it's especially not right because we built this place. Do not misunderstand what I mean by ancestors. Our forefathers, your dad, your grandfather, they built it with their hands. They sacrificed. They built this place with their ingenuity. And these people come here and they disrespect us. It's not right because this is my home. And these people, they don't belong, clearly. What matters is that we stuck up for humanity. Ultimately, that is the victory. It's not victory in itself. It's not, a political achievement. It's not anything like that tangible. The victory is in our living, that we're living without limits. We're living without self-censoring. We're living unapologetically and being human. Like the act of doing that at all times is the victory over, this oppressive sort of system that wants to control and diminish and intimidate and all of that. Like ultimately that's why, it's living the dream every day. Total victory every day just by being human. I also wouldn't have it any other way. It's like I would much rather be suffering and be real and suffer as a human than be comfortable as a slave, than be comfortable as somebody that's just along for the ride.
wall.
But as soon as people start playing games, I stop playing games. And at any moment, I can hit that yay button.
Stop the track. See, Ricky said, let nobody don't wanna bone you. If they wanna bone you, hit them with a
Okay,
shot. Keep the cul-de-sac, you don't have it back with others. It's still was your day one always always here before you started. You know me, but the man above your head. Pray before you go to bed. Everything my purpose
not my words, not my rules. I just enforce them, all right?
They say trust no man. Believe your day was Mama said trust no hoe, use a weapon. They said trust no man. Believe your day was
Last out is God. It's everyone. Swarming on everybody who dare to approach. America first, bitch.
Trust no hoe, use a rubber.
Yeah, what's good to everybody in the chat? I'm just I'm gonna be letting Nick Fuentes take the mic tonight. We're just waiting for him to get on the stream, so I guess I'll just talk. I'll be doing a little talking until then, whenever he gets on. We're playing the beautiful game of Texas Hold'em. You already know. Last time I talked to some of you guys, I was sitting on about $160, $170 bankroll. And it's been a few weeks now, but I've run it up a little bit. We're up 100 since then, you know, slowly but surely making our way up. So right now we're sitting with King 10 suited of hearts on the big blind, limped to out of position. So we're going to raise it up here and we're going to take it. Nice and easy. No tax, you know, no global poker skimming off the top pre-flop. Yeah, if you win a hand pre-flop, it can be for $1,000. Global doesn't take any of your money. They don't take a cut. It's not until the flop is dealt, I guess. And then if you win the pot, they take about. They take like 5%. They take 5% out of every pot, I believe, is what the math is. Which is not nothing. It ain't a whole lot. And this website doesn't charge you to deposit, actually. A lot of places will charge you. I mean, I know Bovada charges you like, fuck, I don't know, 6% or something. They tax you, dude. I don't know. That might not be accurate, but it's a noticeable amount. I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. I think I'm supposed to bet. That's not good. This this is why I need to study more, because there's like there's appropriate move, the most like economical move, the most what's the word, optimal, I guess is the right term. There's an optimal move to make here. I don't know which one it is. And then the interesting thing with that actually is sometimes it's not necessarily that there's an optimal move. There's multiple moves you can make. It's just a matter of how often should you be making one set of moves and how often should you be making the other move. You know, and being able to balance that. That's kind of what it comes down to. So there's instances where what's this guy gonna do? Like what I just did before, I checked, right? Okay, well, we won the pot. So I checked, and it's not necessarily that I made the wrong move. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of complicated. But I mean, checking worked that time, you know? I don't know. On to the next hand. So I don't know if you guys know poker too well or how it works. Basically, you want pairs, you want bigger cards, or if it's a small, like see right here, it's big high up cards, face cards, it's a king and a jack, and it's suited. So this is what you would call a suited connector. Because obviously the hand is suited, they're both hearts. And connector means it's like you go king, queen, jack. It basically means there's like a gap in between. So like a suited connector would be like 5 and 7. If this was a 7, that would be a suited connector. So there's instances when you want to play hands like this, hands that are suited connectors. If it's like an ace queen, that's technically a suited connector. You want to play stuff like that. You maybe don't necessarily want to play something like a 4-2 suited. And really, it's, I mean, where are you playing it? You know, it's, you don't want to raise with 4-2 suited from like early position or like first to act, because it's not really a strong card, strong hand. It's a pretty weak hand. We just got Voodoo Child sitting next to us. I've been playing with this guy for like, I mean, it's been years at this point. He always short stacks. He always. I don't think I've ever seen him not buy in for $4. He always buys in for $4 every single time. He used to be like kind of bad. Uh-oh. He used to be like not that good, but I feel like he's improved and gotten better to the point where he can buy in with a $4 stack and turn it into 10 and so on, or 20 or $30, whatever, pretty quickly. So this guy's probably got like he's probably got like 3 of a kind or something. There, yep, there you go. Yeah, 2 twos, 2 on the board there, 3 of a kind. Um, hey Jimmy, you aren't in here right now, are you, Jimmy? Do you have the? Do you have the? Okay. And hit was set. Yep. All right, sorry, I'm just talking to Jimmy over here. Yeah, we're gonna be going to fucking UFC 276. We're planning this thing out right now. Well, well, well. Look at that. This is we call flopping the nuts, boys. I don't think this person has anything. I don't think they hit the flop. Nope. They hit the flush. 6% chance of that happening there. Flopping a flush. You have a 6% chance. Oh, shit. Oh no, this a copyright? Fuck. Dude, we can't get any more copyrights. Like another 3 months or something. All right. So I don't know if I'm leaving this table right now or not. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna stick around here because I'm up a couple bucks. I mean, it's $2, nothing, but not down a couple bucks. And these tables are starting to fill up with like good players. This guy's pretty good up here, Bostonian. That's why I got him marked. I got him marked green, and this guy's marked blue, which I mean that just means those are good players. If I mark you like anything up here, you're decent. You're Pretty good, very good up here. Like Bostonian's probably better than Rhino. I should be able to hang with these guys though. I just gotta play fundamentally sound. Maybe get a little lucky. I gotta pee really quick. I'll do that. I'll be back on this. Alright, I forgot to sit out. Where these guys will live though. Oh, here's another dude. This guy's pretty decent as well, this Trav guy. I don't know why everyone's joining the stable. I don't know if like the ants per hour or average pot or something is like enticing these guys. Because I know that kind of math goes into it is like, I mean, this wouldn't really apply. Generally, I try to like avoid playing with too many good players. I mean, you can't just avoid them forever, right? It's like Fuentes is going to be coming on here pretty soon. So once that happens, I'll probably be getting off the mic and just letting him do his thing. We got Pocket Kings right now. We're on the fucking button. We're gonna just do this last hand. And we get trip kings. Just trip kings. No big deal. I mean, hopefully this guy's a fucking king himself. Please have like King Jack or Pocket Fives or something, because I got the fucking nuts, dude. Like, raise me. Whatever you want, man. Uh-oh. Well, if he has Queen 10, I'm fucked. Let's find out. Oh, oh, rough. All right, well, that's going to conclude my poker commentary and tips and tricks. I'll let Mr. Fuentes take the floor here.
To the airport, and he cross-dressed on a cruise apparently. Now, all of that stuff is pretty messed up, but it is important that we stand up for Madison Cawthorn. It's important that we stand tall and we get up on our feet and we defend him, because the reason he's under attack is because he exposed people that are far more deviant and worse than him. So we'll talk about that. That's my take, by the way. I support Cawthorn. I didn't before he called me a right-wing nut. He said some right-wing nut was making fun of my disability. Well, I'm not a right-wing nut, okay? I'm a right-wing man. I'm not a nut. But since he has called out the DC pedophile elite, and now that he's being attacked, it shows that he deserves our support. I felt the same way about Matt Gaetz. I was a little bit skeptical about Matt Gaetz. Then he had sex with that 17-year-old, and all my doubts disappeared. Because not because of what he did, because it showed that they were trying to compromise him, and they're now attacking him and investigating him and threw a whole conspiracy at him because he is an America First patriot. That's why. So that was a fun little construction. But it's true. You have to break the cycle. You can't fall for the scandals. They dropped that story on Gaetz, and they're dropping the stuff on Cawthorn because Gaetz and Cawthorn are against McCarthy, and they're against the establishment. So this is all part of their sick plan. So we'll get into that. Very important stuff. We'll also be talking tonight about J.D. Vance, who last night won the Ohio Senate primary. So he will now go on to face Tim Ryan in the Ohio Senate race in November. And this was a very closely watched and competitive primary race because you had a lot of pro-Trumpers in the race, Seth Mandel and J.D. Vance. I think there was one other guy. And for some, they said this was a test of whether or not Trump still had influence in the party. It was a competitive race, and Trump backed Vance. So the logic goes that if Vance wins, it means that Trump still rules the party. If Vance loses, it means that Trump isn't as influential and his endorsement doesn't carry as much weight as it used to. Well, I agree that that's true to some extent. I also think, though, that there is something else going on, which is that J.D. Vance was not just the candidate endorsed by Trump, but he was also the candidate endorsed by Peter Thiel, who is increasingly becoming influential in the GOP and right-wing politics. So it's not just a victory for Trump, it's a victory for Thiel. And that is a little bit more of a complicated question than Trump. So we'll get into the J.D. Vance victory and what that means about Trump and Thiel. And it should be a pretty good show tonight. Should be pretty good. Lots to discuss. Before we get into the news, though, I just want to remind you to follow me on this channel. Smash the follow button below the Russian flag to get a push notification whenever my show goes live. Also, follow me on Gab and Telegram. Links are down below. I've been posting a lot of good stuff on Telegram lately, and I feel like I was on Twitter for about a week, and I feel like I'm back. I was on Twitter for a week, and I was sort of back in that style of communication. I sort of forgot how to tweet because I haven't been on Twitter since like December. And then this past week, I was sort of relearning it, rediscovering. I picked up where I left off. And now I'm back. I'm pithy, I'm quick. And so I've been posting a lot of good stuff on Telegram. So make sure to follow me on Gab and Telegram. Links are down below. Also, Friday, I will be debating counterpoints about the Russia-Ukraine war on the Kill Stream. So make sure to tune into that. No show on Friday. I will not be doing America First on Friday, but I will be doing a big debate about the Ukraine conflict Friday. I think it's 8:30. On the Kill Stream, moderated by the Ralph Mail. So that'll be fun. And that's all the news I have for you, I think. I'm trying to think, did I miss anything? That's all I got for you. I've been streaming all day today. I was on the Baked Alaska show. I was just on the Kai Clips show. And now I'm on this show. I'm doing too much. I'm doing way too much content. Last night, I did a 4.5-hour show. 4.5 hours. I did a 2-hour monologue, which is just unbelievable. Who else could do that? Who else could, off the cuff, deliver such an excellent monologue for 120 minutes without any breaks or pauses or hesitation. Truly a gift. And then I read 2.5 hours of super chats. And that was last night. That was a lot. The thing is, here's the problem. I don't take breaks. I do all these shows last week, and then I'm at the airport all day Saturday. I'm at the airport all day Monday. I come back. I stream all day yesterday. I stream all day today. I got a debate on Friday. So it just doesn't stop. It just doesn't end. It's just always content. But I like being on my own show. I like being on my show because I actually don't really like dialogue. I like monologue. I'm really more a fan of the monologue. Because I go on the other shows and I've got a message I want to get out there. I've got opinions. And then these other people, it's like, well, now they want to say something. And sometimes people interrupt me and sometimes people say things and I'm bored. And when I'm on my show, it's my turn. It's my floor. And I am the one that gets to talk. The problem with conversations, the problem with dialogue is it's too unpredictable. I don't know when it's my turn to talk. I don't know if I'm going to be interrupted. I don't like that. See, when I have the floor, there's certainty. You know, it's like I like to drive. I like to be the one talking in the conversation. You know, I feel safer. I feel more comfortable when I'm in the driver's seat here, you know, so it feels good. So I was on stream all day today, but really I'm not at home until I'm here live doing America First. So good to be back here on the show tonight. I was on the Baked Alaska show with Smiley the Fed. There's maybe some good content with Smiley coming out soon. We'll see. And then I was on the Kai show. And Kai just won't let me call myself an incel. I don't know why this is so controversial. I've been this way for years. You know, I thought that America First, if you don't know the lore, the America First movement was born during the Thought Wars. That was one of my first major conflicts. And everybody all of a sudden now is saying, oh, you're a bridge burner. Oh, you're an incel. And it feels like it's 2018 all over again. That's how this all started. When I first got my start and I was going up against the alt-right, I was saying, listen, this is going to be a Christian movement and it's going to be traditional and all this. And everybody said, oh, you're burning bridges. You're too critical of everyone. You don't have any friends, all this. And then all these women started giving me a hard time. Tara McCarthy, who was a popular girl streamer at the time, she hit me up and she said, if you don't stop thought patrolling right-wing e-girls, I'm never going to talk to you again. That's what she said. She's British. Oh, I'm never going to talk to you again. That's not what even is that? That's not British. But she's like, I'm not going to talk to you again in a bitch voice. She's like, I'm not even going to talk to you again. And I said, well, so be it. Because I'm never going to stop thought patrolling women, no matter what their political views are. I'm always going to thought patrol the women. Thought patrol was like an early form of, you know, we were making fun of women, attacking women online. Gamergate. Hello, Gamergate, Trump, only Rosie O'Donnell. There's roots here. There's layers to this. So I said, hell no, I'm not giving up the thought patrol. And if you don't want to talk to me, so be it. And she blocked me. So, and then she goes on a rampage and she tells all the other girls, Brittany Pettibone unfollows me. Lauren Southern texts me and she says, I can't believe what you're saying about. And this what turned into a big thing. And it was me and Beardson and Sean and a few others. And we said, no, we're holding down the fort. We're putting our foot down. No e-girls. That was a rallying cry. No e-girls, not even once. Right? And now all these years later, it's like deja vu all over again. Niggas turn 18 and they think they just discovered, oh, I have a new idea. You know what, Nick? You're too mean to girls. So now it's this thing all of a sudden. So anyway, it was more of a thing a few months ago, and now Kai just can't let it go. He's doing a show about it, and I come in, I'm like, really? Can we just let it go? Let me call myself an incel, bro. Let me call out simps and e-girls on the timeline. Why is this controversial? I don't understand. yes, I am anti-feminist. I am anti-simp. I am incel supreme. I am a supreme gentleman. Absolutely. What's not to like? I'm the supreme gentleman. Why are you calling me out for being an incel? Why is everyone always attacking me? I'm right. Stop booing me. I'm right. Okay, I'm right. But you know what it is? People want to go out there and they want to simp, and then they don't want to be called out. They want to go out there with their profligate simping, and then they don't want to be called out. That's what it is. They don't want to be named and shamed. So, but I'll never stop. All right. I am the supreme gentleman. I am him. Kai Clips be like, I don't know. But I am the supreme gentleman. And I'll never stop. I will never stop bullying women on the internet. And if you think I'm going to do that, you're crazy, because I'm not. So anyway, so that was my day. I was on the live streams. I was with Baked. I was with Kai. Had a lot of fun. We like Kai. We love Kai. We love Smiley. We love Baked. We're having a content renaissance. America First really is driving the content renaissance, if you haven't noticed. Specifically Cozy. The Medicare debate was the rebirth of blood sports. It was one of the biggest events. I think it was not as big as Pack, but it was one of the biggest events. But everybody's watching America First. Whether you like it or hate it, everybody's watching America First. All eyes on America First lately. So you love to see it. It's debates, it's drama, it's gaming all the time. It's harassing women. It's seemingly sometimes defending women if you're Kai. It's politics. It's polemical. We're all here for it. We're all here reacting in the live chat, posting stickers and super chats, and we're all just here for the show. So I really do believe that we are in a content renaissance in a way that we haven't seen in years, and we are driving it. We are the ones that are the engine of that, because I mean, it's just literally not even happening anywhere else. So people have said that for a long time. There's no content, nothing ever happens. Well, now we are happening. So anyway, so that was what I had going on today. I had a pretty uneventful day. I just kind of worked and made some phone calls. I had to call John Doyle. I caught this Instagram live, and the Groypers are pressing John, and John was talking trash. No, he wasn't. He was bantering, and I called up John. We had a good conversation. And it's funny, me and John, we don't agree on everything. I think that's well known, but we agree on a lot. Like, I just watched his Russia-Ukraine video. He's totally on the money. Great video. He's friends with Elijah. I'm friends with Elijah. So we're 90% on the same page politically. But you know what's funny is, like, we go through the same stuff personally too. And it's like, it's the weirdest thing. It's like, call him up and, and we're talking about the latest drama and everything. And and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm going through the same thing with this guy I used to know and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's so hard being a famous, handsome, smart e-celebrity. And like, John is one of the only other people that can relate, So I call up John. I'm like, yeah. And we get it. And we're on the same page. We get it. So I saw people were like, oh my gosh, are you guys cool? We're cool. We're cool. Cool as a cucumber. And I think I want to take a trip down to Texas and maybe see him and Elijah and the whole Texas crew. UX, if he's down there, I don't know. He might be too cool for me. I hope Maybe he'll hang out with me. I don't know. But Lance, maybe I want to see Lance, my man. Lance videos. I hear he's totally red pilled. He was telling me the most red pill thing the other day. Can't even repeat it here because it was so radical and extreme. It'll get me put on the no-fly list if I said it. So I want to go down there and visit the Texas crew. I may be going out to do that soon. So it's all good. But anyway, I guess we'll dive into the news here. Lots to get into, lots to discuss. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll hang out with UX if he's not busy, I guess. Hey, UX, want to hang if you're like not busy or anything? Like, he's always so busy, but whatever. But I don't even really care. Anyway, we're going to dive in here. Our first story is about J.D. Vance. This story I'm not really that excited about or interested in, but I guess I'll sort of recap. Me and J.D. Vance have a bit of a feud going. We have this ongoing rivalry. If you don't know, J.D. Vance is a friend of Peter Thiel's. And basically, Peter Thiel set him up to run in this race. Peter Thiel is a Silicon Valley tech billionaire, but he's very different than the others in some ways. If you know anything about him, he is right-wing. He used to be more libertarian. Now he seems to be backing more nationalist causes. I think his net worth is somewhere between $5 and $10 billion. He's a Straussian, according to some. And so he's becoming increasingly involved in politics. He, of course, backed Donald Trump in 2016. He spoke at the Republican National Convention. Now he's backing a few Senate and congressional candidates, as well as some other political projects, and seems to be buying up more real estate in the right-wing movement. And the J.D. Vance Senate run was a big part of this. If you don't know, J.D. Vance is a friend of Peter Thiel's from when they were in business together. And also J.D. Vance was famous because he wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy. And the book was about the so-called white working class in Ohio, where he's from. And he became very popular. They made a movie based on the book at Netflix. He became a CNN contributor. And he was regarded in the mainstream media as the Trump whisperer. He was supposed to be this academic who was able to explain the Trump phenomenon from the perspective of the so-called hillbillies in Ohio to the elites in the media and in politics. So that's his background. And I have to tell you, I was extremely, extremely skeptical of his run from the beginning. And I've been very vocal about that. And I've talked about it at length. A lot of problems with J.D. Vance. Problem number one, he went to Yale Law School, which is a big red flag. If you're from the Ivy Leagues, particularly if you're from the Ivy League law schools, that means you're part of the same club as George W. Bush and John Kerry and Barack Obama and all the Supreme Court justices and most of the people in Congress and the Senate and in the federal judiciary. And if you're at the elite Ivy League law schools, you're in the club, or at the least, it should be suspected that you're in the club. Red flag number one. Red flag number two, he was in the military. Red flag number three, he was not only not in favor of Trump in 2016, he was anti-Trump. He said that Trump was an idiot and all kinds of other negative things about Trump. What's more, he not only was not pro-Trump, he was not even just anti-Trump. He backed Evan McMullin, who was a CIA operative who ran for president in Utah and served as a spoiler candidate to sink the Trump candidacy and give the White House to Hillary Clinton in 2016. So all of that taken together is very, very bad. Yale Law School, military, didn't support Trump, was against Trump, backed Evan McMullin so that Clinton would win. When Barack Obama left office in 2017, J.D. Vance wrote a glowing article about it in the New York Times saying that white people hated Obama because they're racist and they were jealous of how smart he was. Which that's only not true. Obama's an idiot, but also it reeks of elitism and a very specific kind of liberal attitude. I mean, I think if you think that Barack Obama is cerebral, like J.D. Vance said he was, I think you're just wrong, and I think you're naive, and honestly, I think you're just not that smart. But what's more, it's not just that that's an incorrect and foolish thing to say, it also betrays a very specific kind of mentality. They said that, he said, along with lots of other liberals, they said that the working class and the white people and the conservatives didn't like Obama because he was just too smart for them, and they resented him for his intelligence. And to me, this is a very particular racial view. I think there's in there an animosity towards whites. I think there's a certain bigoted attitude towards whites within that whites are prejudiced and hateful, that whites are ignorant, or at least whites within the interior of the country are ignorant, or something like that. It carries with it this very liberal, elitist, coastal, anti-white mentality that we hate. To say that the American conservatives hated Obama because they were jealous of how smart he was, you know exactly the kind of person you're dealing with. The kind of person goes to Yale Law School and works in the military and then backs Evan McMullin, the National Review Bill Kristol spoiler candidate. He then, after that, goes to work for the American Enterprise Institute, which is like ground zero for neoliberal, neocon, con Inc. rhetoric. American Enterprise Institute is one of the worst. They supported the war in Iraq. They support all this free market Koch brothers stuff. That is one of the worst institutions in the country politically. And then he goes to work as a CNN contributor. So this was the story of J.D. Vance. And I remember a year or two ago when J.D. Vance entered the fray, I think it was about a year ago when he launched his candidacy, a lot of people in the American right wing uncritically accepted this. J.D. Vance announced his candidacy, and he was supposed to be the Trumpist, national conservative based candidate in the Ohio Senate primary. And Ryan Gerdusky backed him, and a lot of other people backed him uncritically. And I remember thinking at the time, why isn't anybody pointing this out? That's a lot of red flags. I'm not nitpicking. It's not nitpicking to say that I don't buy it, that somebody worked at AEI and CNN and went to Yale and lamented Barack Obama's abdication from the White House and backed Evan McMullin. It's not nitpicking to say that all of that is problematic, and I don't buy this transformation into some pro-Trump conservative. That's not nitpicky. It's not purity spiraling. It's fair. It's completely fair, and it's 100% reasonable. In fact, it's more than reasonable. And I remember people started to push him, and I will go out there and say, hold on a second. I'm not just about to throw in my support behind this guy. We have no idea who this guy is. Last year, he was at the American Enterprise Institute. Now I'm supposed to vote for him because he's some kind of Trump guy? I don't think so. I said, we need to hear an explanation. And we never really got one for a long time. It was ignored. I was attacked for saying this. A lot of people told me that I just didn't understand politics for suggesting that maybe there needed to be some kind of reconciliation there. And then over time, he would address it, and he said that people saying that weren't being fair. He said that people saying that were not being honest. He said that he changed his mind. I'm sorry, but saying that you changed your mind just isn't good enough sometimes. If for your entire life, you're an elitist lawyer, political, big tech guy, I don't think you can wake up one day and say, never mind, I like Trump now, vote for me. It doesn't really work that way. And now eventually I came around, and Donald Trump came around, and Trump endorsed him. And J.D. Vance actually defended me on a few occasions. And J.D. Vance has consistently been pretty good. And he has explained how he changed his mindset, and he's apologized. He's gone on Tucker and apologized. He's really gone out of his way. But that's the story here on J.D. Vance. That's who he is. That's sort of my history here. That's my feud with him. And now he just won the Ohio Senate primary, and he is now favored to become the senator from Ohio and will be in the U.S. Senate. And this is the article about the race, and then we'll go into what all this means. It says, quote, the candidate backed by former President Donald Trump won the Republican primary for the nomination for one of the Senate seats for Ohio. Populist author J.D. Vance was declared the victor over former state treasurer Josh Mandel on Tuesday. Vance received the support of Trump over Mandel, even though both declared themselves pro-Trump candidates. Mandel also had the endorsement of Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Vance is best known for writing Hillbilly Elegy, a New York Times bestseller documenting the political changes among working-class white people in the beleaguered region of Appalachia. He initially mocked and rejected Trump in 2016, but later became a vocal supporter of his policies. Trump said in his endorsement in April, quote, like some others, J.D. Vance may have said some not so great things about me in the past, but he gets it now, and I have seen that in spades. He is our best chance for victory in what could be a very tough race. The race was largely seen as a test of the political influence Trump held within the party, as some elements have attempted to move forward without him. Heading into the primary election, Mandel and Vance were within the margin of error in the latest Fox News poll. First-term Republican Governor Mike DeWine defeated conservative primary challengers. Okay, that's just another headline. Vance will go up against Tim Ryan, the Democratic senatorial nominee. They are vying to fill in the seat vacated by Senator Rob Portman, a Republican who is not running for re-election. So this is what most of the media is saying. They're saying that J.D. Vance winning is a representation of Trump's influence in the party. But I think actually there's more to it than that, because I don't see J.D. Vance principally as a Trump shill or a Trump surrogate. I see him as a Peter Thiel acolyte. J.D. Vance worked with Peter Thiel in the private sector, and he is a personal friend of Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel gave $15 million to the J.D. Vance super PAC to jumpstart his race and held fundraisers for him. And I know that the entire Thiel-backed network in right-wing politics is pushing for J.D. Vance. So J.D. Vance winning the primary is not so much a demonstration of Trump's influence, but I think more so a demonstration of Peter Thiel's influence. J.D. Vance is a friend and a surrogate and an apprentice, you could say, something like that of Peter Thiel, not Donald Trump. And I don't think that J.D. Vance would exist in this realm without Peter Thiel. And J.D. Vance is only one of Peter Thiel's projects. The others are Joe Kent in Washington State, as well as Blake Masters in Arizona, and then assorted other candidates in other congressional races across the country. And that is in addition to other Thiel-backed projects like, for example, the Edmund Burke Foundation, which puts on the National Conservatism Conference, as well as pundits like Mencius Moldbug, otherwise known as Curtis Yarvin. And so taking all of these things together, you're beginning to see, and I think if you are hip and you see what's going on in right-wing politics, you see that there's a real network being formed. Politicians, conferences, so-called thought leaders, podcasters, influencers, all propped up by billionaire Peter Thiel's money, and are shaping the post-Trump, or the, you could call it the Trump intermission Republican Party. And I've always said that this is really the most important question. What happens to the right-wing movement and to the GOP after Trump leaves office? Because once Trump leaves the White House, and not only does he leave the White House, but in an unpredictable fashion, Trump is banned from Twitter, banned from everything, and there's this great deal of alienation between him and a lot of establishment elements in the Republican Party. And so we thought it was going to be a feeding frenzy to begin with, but then you've got these special circumstances under which he left office, and now it's really a feeding frenzy as to who will succeed Donald Trump, and then therefore, how will they shape the Republican Party? In a sense, the Trump revolution is in grave danger and jeopardy, because what Trump did in 2016 was he orchestrated a hostile takeover of the Republican Party, not just the White House, but more importantly, the Republican Party. The Republican Party is the opposition party, at least nominally. And what Trump did is make it an effective opposition party as opposed to a nominal opposition party. We know that there is one globalist agenda that is pushed by the Republicans and the Democrats, but at least in name, the Republican Party is supposed to be opposed to that. It is supposed to be opposed to the social liberalism. It is supposed to be opposed to the globalization of the culture. It is intended to be opposed to the socialization of the economy and the subordination of our national government to global governance, but it isn't. And what Trump did in 2016 when he orchestrated the hostile takeover of the party is he took the nominal opposition party and made it the effective opposition party, made it, in fact, not just in name, a party that opposes the ruling ideology and the ruling agenda. And he did that by taking on not just the Democrats, but the media and the establishment in the Republican Party and the donor class and many other powerful institutions. And that is why they all then conspired to overthrow him and cheat him out of the election and then ban him from social media and then try to impeach him. And so this is why this is the most important question. What will happen then to this revolution? What then will be the lasting effect and legacy of the hostile takeover? Will the hostile takeover be reversed? And will the opposition party be made no longer effective and again resume its status as a fake opposition, a controlled opposition to the globalist regime? Will it be hijacked for the purpose of some other nefarious actor, for some other agenda? That's the question. And so the question is, and I said this at AFPAC 2, and I said this throughout the past 2 years, is the party going to snap back to Nikki Haley and Mike Pence and the establishment, or will it be inherited by people that are, at least in spirit, pro-Trump, nationalist against globalism? Well, now you're beginning to see that it's a little bit more complicated. There are establishment forces. There's Trump himself. There are people that identify as pro-Trump. There's this Peter Thiel coalition. There's America First. And it seems that it's a lot more multipolar than it is bipolar. It's a lot more complicated than just Mike Pence versus Trump. It's more complicated than Nikki Haley versus whoever the Trump successor would be, Tucker Carlson or something. It's a true feeding frenzy. And the Peter Thiel coalition is going to play a big part in this. Because, of course, I think the establishment is at a disadvantage. I think that Donald Trump still retains control over the party because he still has the hearts and minds of the people. He still has a 95% approval rating. I think that if a primary were held today and he ran, he would win. I think that he is still by far and away the most popular Republican figure in the country. And I think that is also true of his ideology. I think that, generally speaking, Republicans have a favorable view of his presidency and of his policy platform. So it turns out that the establishment faction is actually one of the weaker factions in this sectarian conflict. The question then is not so much who will win out in a succession battle between the establishment and the Trumpists. The real question then is who will become the successors to Trump and defeat the establishment, which is a different question. It's not who will triumph, the party or Trump. It seems that Trump has apparently triumphed. The question is who will be the successor. Trump may run in 2024 and he may win. And in that case, it's a little bit moot. And the question is sort of delayed another 4 years. But in this interim period, and then this will be true after the events of 24, whether Trump wins or he doesn't run or whatever happens, the question is who will be seen as a serious and true and maybe even recognized successor to Donald Trump. And that's where the Peter Thiel faction enters into the equation. It seems that the Peter Thiel coalition, with his money, with his candidates, his elected officials, his conference, his thought leaders and tastemakers, his pundits, they seem poised to be one of the more influential factions that will shape the so-called spiritual succession of the Trump movement. Unfortunately, though, we don't know exactly the character and the color of what that will look like because there's a lot of ambiguity there. And so, as an example, you've got something like the National Conservatism Conference. The National Conservatism Conference is a new conference. It's a convention they hold in D.C. I think they held it in Orlando this year. It's run by Yoram Hazony. And they've had speakers like Peter Thiel and Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and Curtis Yarvin attends and other populist voices. Rod Dreher from New York Times, I think, and Sohrab Ahmari and I think Matt Walsh and others like this. And this is one of the Peter Thiel projects. But the founder of the conference, it's supposed to be national conservatism, nationalist conservatism. It's supposed to sound like Trumpism. National conservatism is supposed to modify and distinguish and make distinct this conference from something like CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference. It's not just conservatism, it's national conservatism. It's not just Mike Pence, it's Trump. It's not just the same old con inc status quo stuff. This is new and different and a more nationalist, identitarian, social, cultural flavor. But who runs it? Yoram Hazony runs it. Yoram Hazony is a dual citizen. He has citizenship in the United States and Israel, and he's a Jewish Zionist. It also happens that it also just so happens, in addition to that, that people like Peter Brimelow and myself, who are actually prominent in the real PaleoCon America First movement, are banned from the conference. We cannot attend, just like CPAC. And so you look at something like national conservatism funded by Thiel, and again, shaping the post-Trump, Trumpism political conversation. There's some ambiguity there. It's calling itself nationalist. It's Trump presenting. It's Trump's successor, nationalist presenting, but yet it still has these trappings and undercurrents and themes of the status quo, of the establishment. It's got a Jewish Zionist dual citizen running it, and it bans true dissidents. So that's a problem. Then you get a guy like Curtis Yarvin, who Peter Thiel is very fond of. And you know what? I think Curtis Yarvin is brilliant. I think that if you read his essays, it is undeniable that he is brilliant and extremely well-read and knowledgeable and wise, and he has been around for a decade and a half, and he's a legend. But he is also Jewish. Not that that's a problem, but this is the kind of character, this is one of the things that has characterized the previous conservative elite and establishment. He's not just Jewish, but he goes on Tucker Carlson and says that the globalist elite is completely decentralized and has no character, no ethnicity, no nationality, no religion. It's just totally decentralized. He calls himself an international Jew because his dad was in the Foreign Service. And so Yarvin, Jewish, grows up on military bases and embassies around the world. And Curtis Yarvin is well known in academic circles, and he's friends with Beatty, and he's friends with Bronze Age Pervert, who's also an academic. And Bronze Age Pervert is backed by Thiel, and Bronze Age Pervert studied in Columbia under a Jewish Straussian Zionist. And Leo Strauss is, of course, a rabid Jewish Zionist. And Peter Thiel is a Straussian, allegedly. And Leo Strauss was a Jewish Zionist. Okay, now Curtis Yarvin is the court philosopher of the Peter Thiel wing of the party. And so you're starting to see these things where if national conservatism is the sort of think tank of Peter Thiel faction, if Curtis Yarvin is the thought leader of the Peter Thiel, and if J.D. Vance is the candidate, I like what J.D. Vance says. I do. I like that he defended me. I thought that was a deft political decision to defend Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a rising star in the party and one of the most famous Republican congressmen. I like what he says. He's pretty consistently on the money. But if he's backed by the same network that's putting on national conservatism, I'm wondering where's the Yoram Hazony. I'm wondering where's the international Jewish remark from Curtis Yarvin that we heard on Tucker. I like Curtis Yarvin. I didn't like that remark. I like a lot of what is there in national conservatism. I don't like that I'm banned from it. It's run by a dual citizen. How's that national? That's not very national. I like J.D. Vance, but what's the catch? And therein lies the rub here. I like a lot of what's being put on, but there's also enough that I've seen that gives me a little bit of room for doubt and skepticism here. I don't want Trumpism to be replaced by Straussian Zionists. And I'm not the only one. I want a real Catholic, Christian, pro-white, nationalist, paleoconservative, America First movement, the true successor to Trumpism. That and that alone is the true successor to Trumpism. Christian, pro-white, paleoconservative, nationalist. That's the only and true successor to Trumpism. And it seems like what is being backed by billionaire money is something that is Zionist, so-called populist, Straussian, and elitist. And none of those things characterize the Trump revolution. I don't want to replace the old scheming Zionists like Bill Kristol and Ben Shapiro with the new scheming Zionists that are Straussians, and it's Yoram Hazony and it's Mencius Moldbug. Sorry, I just don't. And it's not very much different. You know, and you look at another guy like Jack Murphy. Jack Murphy was in the Teal Network. He was, if you look at the guests on the Jack Murphy podcast, it was all the Teal people. It was all the Teal people. And Jack Murphy is a Jewish guy, a Jewish former leftist from DC involved in finance and education, who wrote a book called Democrat to Deplorable, and he was a porn star. And then he went to become a Lincoln Fellow at the Claremont Institute, also backed by Peter Thiel. So we seem to be seeing a lot of these, we seem to be mapping out a lot of these patterns and trends, and it's somewhat worrisome. I like J.D. Vance. I think if he got in the Senate, he'd be one of the most based senators, but that even may be more threatening than everybody else, because Ted Cruz is a cuck, but at least we know where he stands. There's a lot of senators like Mitt Romney and Tim Scott that I hate, but at least we know where they stand and we can call them out for what they are. J.D. Vance sounds 90% like me, but he's 10% Yoram Hazony and all the rest. And that's the anxiety here. So J.D. Vance winning the Ohio Senate primary, it's not a win for Trump, it's a win for Peter Thiel. And it's a win for the Peter Thiel faction, which is posturing itself as the inheritor and the successor to Trumpism. It's eating up market share in the post-Trump, but not really Trump landscape. And it is injecting an ideology which is sort of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's just Trump enough, but just a little bit different. It's inclusive populism. It's multiracial working class populism. It's national conservatism. It's Straussianism. It's Straussianism. And Leo Strauss was a Jewish Zionist. And Bat was trained by a Jewish Zionist. And Jack Murphy was a Jewish financier. And Mencius Moldbug is international Jew, son of a Jew from the Foreign Service. Yoram Hazony is a dual citizen Jewish Zionist. Josh Hawley has 9 staffers, and 4 of them work on he has 9 foreign policy staffers, and 4 of them focus on Middle East issues. 9 foreign policy staffers on the Josh Hawley team, and 4 of them are involved in Middle East affairs. What do you think that's all about? And take a look at his chief of staff. Now, I don't have anything against Jewish, whatever. My problem with Jewish is it's not Christian. My problem with Zionist is it's not America first. I'm not Jewish, I'm Christian. And America is not a Jewish nation, it's a Christian nation. And my problem with Zionism is that I'm not an Israelite. I don't live in Israel. I wasn't born in Israel. Israel's not my home. America is. I'm not a Zionist, I'm an Americanist. I'm not a Zionist, I'm America first. And I want a country that is run by Christians that put America first. And not anybody else. Not anybody else. I don't want it to be run by Muslims in care. I don't want it to be run by Chinese spies in some communist spy ring. I don't want it to be run by Hispanics from Mexico in La Raza. And I don't want it to be run by Jewish Straussians that are Zionists. I just don't, because we've had that for a long time. That's why Israel's the number one recipient of U.S. foreign aid. And that's why we're in Iraq right now, and that's why we're in Afghanistan for 20 years. So it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It sounds a lot like more of the same. It sounds like the new Bill Kristol. Now, I don't know. It's a little bit more complicated than that. I'm painting with a broad brush here. I am. I think that if you look at Peter Thiel, he's a complicated figure, and he's got some nuanced and interesting views. And I've watched a lot of his stuff, and I've seen a lot of these other things, but I'm just telling the truth right now. I'm just telling the facts. None of what I've said is deniable. None of what I've said is not factual. And I see these patterns, and I see these trends, and I want somebody to convince me why that is not concerning. I want somebody to convince me why the Christian America First movement is so populated and so influenced and gatekept by Jewish Zionists. I want to know. Because if that's what the post-Trump movement is going to look like, then it was a failure. The post-Trump movement needs to be Christian, needs to be explicitly Christian, and needs to be pro-white, needs to be America first. And I will not settle for less. And I like J.D. Vance. I'm glad he won. I thought he was better than Seth Mandel. And J.D. Vance hasn't said anything in the past year that's really upset me, and he's defended me. But I am just wondering that if he's the elected official that was spawned from that little group, I'm wondering where the Hazoni is. I'm wondering where the dual citizen is. I'm wondering where the Straussian is, and what is the double textual meaning? What's the double entendre? What's the secret esoteric Maimonides reading of the J.D. Vance candidacy? That's what I'm worried about with these Straussians. So, looks good, but what J.D. Vance says on TV is for the Goyim. That is the plain sight. That is the easy, apparent message for the Goyim. And I'm wondering, what is the coded, secret, double hidden message, the Talmudic message for Yoram Hazoni? That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm trying to detect. So anyway, so that's J.D. Vance, but I want to move on. I want to get into this Madison Cawthorn controversy. We're out of time. We're almost out of time. 53 minutes in, and I'm not even on our featured story. But it's true. No one else is saying this. No one else is saying this about the Thiel thing. I think because they all want Thiel money. And I would like Thiel money. I would like Peter Thiel to give me money. But also, I am concerned about that. I would like a billionaire to give me money. That would be great. I wish a billionaire would give me $15 million, but that's not happening. And so I think that there are people that have been paid, and I think there are people that want to be paid, or maybe they don't want to rock the boat or something, but I am concerned about that. And I am genuinely curious, because I am banned from national conservatism. I am banned from these things. Joe Kent goes out of his way to attack me, and I know it's not. I don't think that Peter Thiel is calling the shots, like he's picking up the phone and saying, you got to do this and you got to do that. I think it's somewhat decentralized. But if the money is driving the faction in a given direction, we need to look at what that direction is. And it's not really completely aligned with our idea. It's not bad per se. I think there's some good and there's some bad, but it's not totally Christian. It's not totally America first. Like, I like Tucker. And like I said, I like Yarvin. I think he's smart. I like these guys, but I don't know how gung-ho I am about this whole thing, taking all this information together. I think people have a right to be skeptical, and I think people have a right to know that there is this faction and it is being pushed, and we need to know what they're all about. We need to know what's going on there. So anyway, so that's Vance. He won. He will probably become the senator. And like I said, he'll in terms of what he said so far, if he governs like how he's been talking for the past year, he'll be the most based guy in the Senate, no doubt about it. But I'm just wondering what the catch is. That's all. But that's that. I want to move on. I want to get into Madison Cawthorn here. and talk about this controversy. So if you haven't been paying attention, Madison Cawthorn's really been under attack lately. Madison Cawthorn is another one that I didn't really like, because Madison Cawthorn's another one of these Israel shills. And you go on his campaign website as an example, and the entire policy platform is about Israel, and there's nothing about immigration. There's nothing about, I think the section on his website about Israel was longer than any other section on the website, and like 3 times as long as the part on immigration. And I watched his campaign ads, and I watched his campaign literature, and it was all very GOP establishment. It was all free markets and strong foreign policy and defend our allies and the usual nonsense. So I've been critical of Madison Cawthorn. But as you know, he made a comment about a month ago. He said that, I think it was on a podcast, he said that he was invited to an orgy in D.C. He said, and this is what goes on in politics. He said there are these big gay orgies where they do drugs. He said he was invited to one of those and he declined. And he said, you know, you couldn't believe the degeneracy and the corruption that goes on. That's just what they do. And this was very shocking. This is a sitting U.S. congressman. It's not like this is me or like Alex Jones or Andrew Anglin or Milo or like one of us saying that. This is a sitting U.S. congressman saying that he was invited to a gay, drug-fueled orgy for the purpose of like grooming and compromising material by other politicians in the GOP. And so needless to say, that's a really big deal. Why would he lie about that? If he's a sitting congressman, that has a lot of credibility. Why would he say that? It's a little bit alarming. Other people have said that before, but he's in Congress. So that adds a lot of weight to this. And so immediately he was called into a meeting with Kevin McCarthy, and Kevin McCarthy put him on blast, and Madison Cawthorn came out and said, oh, I lied. That didn't happen. After he met with the House Minority Leader. And since then, there's been a slow drip of humiliating, compromising material about Madison Cawthorn leaked in the buildup to the primary, which is competitive now. There are other candidates in the race. He's a popular incumbent, and he's got fierce competition, and he's got people within the party backing his competitors. And now he's got this slow drip of humiliating scandals. And so first, there were these scandals about him getting pulled over for tickets. Then there was a scandal where they posted a picture of him in a dress or something. Then there was a scandal that somebody posted a short video where his friend grabbed his crotch. Now, tonight, the new development is that a video was posted on Twitter of him naked, jumping on some guy in a bed in a hotel and like thrusting on him. And it doesn't look good. None of it looks good, honestly. It looks gross. And this is the article. It says, quote, a political group whose primary focus is unseating Representative Madison Cawthorn released a graphic video on Wednesday showing Cawthorn naked and simulating a sex act near someone that he describes as a friend. Cawthorn acknowledged the video, which was released by American Muckrakers PAC, a political group that runs the Fire Madison Cawthorn website. Cawthorn said in a statement, quote, a new hit against me just dropped. Years ago in the video, I was being crass with a friend, trying to be funny. We were acting foolish and joking. That's it. I'm not backing down. I told you there would be a drip campaign. Blackmail won't win. We will. The first-term congressman who has the backing of Donald Trump has been the target of opposition groups and political opponents as he runs for re-election in the state's westernmost district. He faces a crowded field of GOP challengers in the May 17th primary. David Wheeler, president of American Muckrakers, said in a statement that the video was passed by a former supporter of Cawthorn. The video was posted shortly after Cawthorn released a 7-minute video disputing recent media coverage and ads from political opponents. He also took accountability for recent brushes with law enforcement officials. In the video, he took issue with hit piece mailers from opponents that he described as factually incorrect, and took issue with a variety of news articles about photos showing him wearing lingerie and allegations of insider trading. So if you've been paying attention, there's been a lot of this lately. Like it said, it's a picture of him in lingerie, no context. It's a video of him and his friend grabs his crotch while he's driving. Now there's this graphic video of him naked jumping on some guy in a bed, and it looks bad. And here's what I have to say about the whole thing. I know a lot of people would expect me to go all in. Pause. A lot of people expect me to go all in and attack him and say, wow, what a degenerate. Wow, he's gay. Wow, this is just more of the same from Con Inc. But it's very important to recognize the intentionality behind this. Why are we seeing these videos? Why are we seeing these pictures? If we can just suspend judgment for a moment, right? If we can just hold off for a second on judging what's going on in the video and what it may or may not be, and then, making a decision about that. Why is this happening? Well, it is obvious and it is transparent that he is being publicly humiliated. They had this stuff. And they had it somewhere in a Ziploc bag ready to go for a moment like this. Madison Cawthorn broke the code of silence. Our government is totally corrupt, and it's filled with sick, perverted, deviant people. And the deviancy and the perversion is part of how the government runs. The government is run by blackmail. Jeffrey Epstein was proof of that. Jeffrey Epstein and probably Hugh Hefner and other influential